The reason why the world has innovated so much is because man is curious. Because he's curious, he asks more questions and he seeks more, and therefore he thinks more, and then he gains more understanding by action. The only way to understand the word of God is to be curious about what's in it. And to be curious, you must be interested. When you are reading the Bible, there are times where you read through a place where a question will pop up in your mind. But because you are not interested in reading the Bible, because you are just reading it because you are doing a daily devotional, you want to read it and drop it immediately. Instead of you going back to go and think about what you saw, you just read past it and ignore what was written there. But you neglect the fact that God is the one that planted that curiosity in your mind. God planted that hunger because he wanted to teach you something. God was speaking in the Bible. He said, I let people go hungry, but then I feed them. God was trying to ignite a hunger inside you so that he can fill you with his word. He can teach you something. He was trying to create a burden in your heart so that he can reveal something to you. But because you were not interested, you did not read it. And you see, many times the reason why people are not interested in reading the Bible is because they don't understand why they should read it. Even people that claim they have repented and they want to follow God for real. Let me explain. Prayer is not about shouting. It's not about counting the hours. It's not about all those things. Yes, you can be shouting. It can happen. Although don't be counting the hours. Prayer is about connection and communication between man and God. So when you go to pray, have it in mind that you are talking to your Father. Now let me ask you something. How do you talk to people in your life? People ask me, what should I say when I'm praying? Say what comes to your mind. Be free with God. It is when you are free with God that you open your heart with God. Hope your heart is open to God. And it is when your heart is open to God that he can fill you with his power and spirit. When you read the word of God, it is like hearing from God. Paul was speaking in Corinthians. He said that I will now speak of the visions and revelations that the Lord has given to me. God can speak to you through dreams and he can speak to you through revelation. Revelation is deep understanding. That curiosity that you got when you were reading the Bible, that thing that you said, what does that mean? That could have been God trying to give you a message. Because millions of people read past that place in the Bible, but they did not ask the questions that you asked. God was trying to save you. He was trying to teach you. There are many ordinary things in this world that have a divine cause behind it. When Elisha prophesied in the name of the Lord that by this time tomorrow the famine was going to be over in Israel, the famine was, the prophecy was fulfilled by two leopards that stood up and went to the camp of Syria, Samaria, and to Syria, yes, and as they were going, the Syrians heard them coming and thought they were a large army and they ran away, and that is how the food became the food in Israel. But you see, what made those people to stand up, those lepers to stand up? They asked themselves a question: why sit we here until we die? A mere question was what led to the fulfillment of that prophecy, was what led to that great thing. Why? Because the cause behind that natural event was a supernatural entity. There are many things in your life that is caused by God because he's trying to push you to where he wants you to be. When you read the Bible, make sure you seek to understand what it says. Make sure you don't forget that God speaks through the Bible. Make sure you don't neglect the questions he plants in your heart. Make sure you don't just skim through it. Although I'll tell you to free yourself and read it, but be active to understand what he wants you to understand. And always make sure you are humble enough to ask you to help you understand. Because it is humility that lifts a man up. And it takes humility to believe that God can help you to see what you do not see on your own.